The walls are officially closing in, and the panic in Zanzibar is reaching a fever pitch that even a crypto billionaire's bank account can't cool down. Are you ready for the absolute bombshell of the century? Because while some people were hoping this story would just drift away into the Indian Ocean, the nightmare is just beginning for the man at the center of this storm. We are talking about a full-blown, high-stakes psychological meltdown. Can you imagine the sheer terror of realizing that your perfect getaway has turned into a one-way ticket to a federal interrogation room? The silence has finally been shattered, and Ashlee Janae is back on American soil. But her return isn't just a homecoming, it's a reckoning. Why is her fiancé suddenly acting like a man who just saw a ghost? What did the family discover the second that plane touched down? We are diving deep into the panic, the reported 11-hour delays, and the frantic scramble to hide the truth before a US autopsy exposes every single lie. You better strap in, because this isn't just news, this is a total exposure of a billionaire in crisis, and the truth is about to get incredibly messy. The repatriation of Ashlee Janae back to the United States is the absolute game-changer that certain people were praying would never happen. For weeks, the narrative was being controlled from a distance, filtered through a foreign legal system that operates on a completely different frequency than what we are used to here in the States. But the moment that plane touched the tarmac, the clock started ticking on a countdown that Joe McCann and his legal team simply cannot stop. We are talking about a man who has built a career on calculated risks and high-stakes financial maneuvers, but no amount of crypto volatility could have prepared him for the raw, investigative power of a grieving American family backed by federal interest. The bombshell reveal isn't just that she's home, it's that the family didn't just bring back a body, they brought back the evidence that the Zanzibar authorities were allegedly all too happy to overlook. The scandal here isn't just a tragic passing, it is the suspicious, lingering stench of a cover-up that involves millions of dollars, a failing hedge fund, and a timeline that has more holes in it than a piece of Swiss cheese. Let's look at who we are dealing with here. Joe McCann isn't just some random tourist. He is the CEO of Asymmetric, a man who moves in circles where money is supposed to solve every problem. But you have to ask yourself, if everything was as unfortunate and accidental as he claims, why has he been acting like a man who is trying to outrun his own shadow? The reports coming out of his inner circle suggest he is in a state of absolute, unadulterated panic. We are hearing whispers of frantic late-night calls to high-priced fixers and a sudden, desperate interest in international laws regarding sovereign immunity. This isn't Joe's first time dealing with controversy, though usually his battles are fought in the boardroom or on the blockchain. But the bad reputation he's cultivated for being a ruthless, cold-blooded operator in the business world is now being viewed through a much darker lens. People are looking back at his business dealings, specifically the reported 80% drop in his fund's value, and they are starting to connect dots that lead to a very dark place. When a man's financial empire is crumbling, and his personal life suddenly takes a turn that would leave him as the sole narrator of a tragedy, the world is going to look at him with a heavy dose of skepticism. The suspense is reaching a breaking point because, for the first time in this entire saga, Joe McCann is no longer the one holding the remote control to the narrative. The public reaction to Ashlee's return has been an explosion of support for her parents, Harry and Yolanda, who have shown a level of strength that is honestly terrifying for anyone who might have something to hide. They aren't just crying in the corner. They are standing on the front lines with Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester, making sure that every single stone is turned over. The scandalous nature of the Zanzibar investigation, or lack thereof, is finally being exposed. How do you have a situation where local authorities are ready to close a case involving a high-profile American citizen in 48 hours? In a country where the average monthly salary is less than what Joe McCann probably spends on a single lunch, the potential for financial persuasion is not just a theory. It's a glaring, neon-lit probability. The investigative findings that are beginning to leak out are nothing short of shocking. We are hearing from anonymous sources close to the transport team that there were visible inconsistencies with the initial report provided by the Tanzanian medical examiners. When the body arrived, the family's representatives reportedly noted marks and details that were conveniently left out of the official Zanzibar paperwork. This is the bombshell that has Joe's camp scurrying like rats on a sinking ship. If the second autopsy, conducted by top-tier American pathologists, finds even a shred of evidence pointing toward manual trauma or a struggle, Joe McCann's unfortunate accident story becomes a federal homicide investigation. Imagine the scene in Zanzibar right now. You've got a millionaire stuck in a tropical paradise that has suddenly turned into a gilded cage. He's reportedly staying in high-end accommodations, but the comfort of a five-star resort doesn't mean much when you know that thousands of miles away, experts are literally peeling back the layers of your story. The lavish spending he's known for is now being scrutinized as potential hush money. Did the hotel staff see something they shouldn't have? Was the CCTV footage lost or was it bought? The irony of a man who specialized in asymmetric information being taken down by a lack of information is a twist that even a Hollywood writer couldn't script better. Public sentiment has shifted from confusion to a demand for blood. On every social media platform, the Justice for Ashlee movement is dissecting Joe's every move. They are looking at the photos of the engagement, the smiles that seemed a little too forced, and the timeline of that fateful night. The fact that Joe waited nearly half a day to contact the family is being treated as a confession in the court of public opinion. You don't lose the love of your life and then sit in silence for 11 hours unless you are busy cleaning up a mess or getting your story straight with a legal team. This isn't just drama. This is a systematic deconstruction of a man's character. The family's reaction to her return was a mix of devastating grief and a cold, hard resolve. When they said "our baby is back," it wasn't just a sigh of relief, it was a battle cry. They know that as long as she was in Tanzania, the truth was held hostage by a system that Joe McCann could potentially influence. Now that she is back under the protection of US law, the power dynamic has completely flipped. Joe is no longer the powerful billionaire in a small pond. He is a person of interest in a global scandal that has the full attention of the American government. The panic is real because for a man like Joe, losing control is a fate worse than death, and right now, he has zero control over what that second autopsy is going to reveal to the world. As we look closer at the corruption and the abuse of power that often follows wealth into these foreign territories, the details get even grimmer. There are whispers of donations made to local infrastructure projects shortly after the incident. While Joe's PR team might call that philanthropy, the timing is so suspicious it's almost laughable. Who starts building a playground or funding a clinic when their fiancé just passed away in a hotel room? It looks like a classic play from the Billionaire Handbook. If you can't bury the story, buy the ground it's buried in. But the ground in America isn't for sale, and the investigators here don't care about his crypto portfolio or his influence in the tech world. The tension is building because the world is waiting for that one specific piece of forensic data that changes everything. We are talking about DNA under fingernails, micro tears in skin tissue, and toxicology reports that don't just look for the obvious, but search for the sophisticated substances that a man of Joe's resources could access. If this was a setup, it was a poorly timed one, because Ashlee Janae was too loved and too visible to just disappear into a footnote of a Zanzibar police report. Her followers, her family, and the investigators are all converging on the truth, and that truth is looking more and more like a nightmare for the man who thought he could stay one step ahead of justice. Joe's reported behavior since her body left the country has been nothing short of erratic. Sources say he's rarely seen, and when he is, he's surrounded by a rotating door of legal consultants. The nonchalant attitude he tried to maintain in the beginning has evaporated, replaced by a frantic energy. He knows that the Zanzibar defense only works as long as the evidence stays in Zanzibar. But the evidence is gone. It's in a cold room in the United States, being poked and prodded by people who have spent their entire lives catching people exactly like him. The bombshell reveal of her return has effectively stripped him of his armor, leaving him exposed to the full force of a federal probe. This scandal is breaking down the walls of the elite, showing that no matter how many millions you have, you cannot escape the consequences of your actions when the entire world is watching. The public reaction is a mixture of "I knew it" and a desperate hope for a conviction. We are seeing celebrities and influencers who were once friends with Joe start to scrub their social media of his presence. Nobody wants to be associated with a sinking ship, especially one that might be carrying the weight of a homicide. The fallout is already beginning, and we haven't even seen the official autopsy results yet. This is just the beginning of the collapse, and as we move into the next phase of this nightmare, the legal actions being prepared behind the scenes are going to make Joe McCann wish he had never even heard the word Zanzibar. The bombshell reveal that Ashlee's body is back on American soil has sent ripples through the digital world, but inside Joe McCann's camp, it's reportedly an absolute tidal wave of dread. You have to understand the psychology of a man who is used to being the smartest person in the room. Joe is a guy who manages billions, a guy who understands how to hedge bets and minimize losses. But how do you hedge against a high-tech US autopsy that doesn't care about your reputation or your connections? Reports from the ground in Zanzibar suggest that Joe is essentially living in a state of hypervigilance. His passport was reportedly confiscated by the North Unguja Regional Police, and while they initially didn't label him a suspect, that person of interest tag is getting heavier by the hour. This brings us to the breakdown of the scandal and the absolute mess that was the initial investigation. The public reaction was skeptical from day one, but now that we are hearing about leaked reports from hotel staff at the Ziri Zanzibar, the skepticism has turned into a roar. According to sources on the ground, the disagreement between Joe and Ashlee wasn't just a minor tiff over dinner. It was loud enough and intense enough that the hotel management reportedly had to physically move Joe to a separate villa, a 10-minute walk away. Think about that for a second. You are on a luxury engagement trip, the safari of a lifetime, and within days, the staff is separating you for safety and decorum. That is not the behavior of a couple in a honeymoon phase. The investigative findings that are starting to trickle out are painting a picture of a very chaotic night. Local police commander Benedict Mapujira mentioned that Ashlee was found unresponsive in a closet with a belt around her neck. Now, Joe and his supporters have been pushing the suicide narrative hard, citing her disagreements as the catalyst. But the public isn't buying it. Why? Because leaked reports suggest that Joe reportedly waited 11 hours to contact her family. 11 hours. In the world of investigative forensics, those 11 hours are known as the golden window for evidence to mysteriously vanish. If you are innocent and your fiancé is in a medical crisis, you are on the phone with her mother in 11 seconds, not 11 hours. The sheer audacity of the wealth involved here adds another layer to the corruption narrative. Joe McCann is the man behind a crypto fund backed by the absolute titans of Silicon Valley. We are talking about Mark Andreessen and Chris Dixon. When you have that kind of backing, you are used to the world bending to your will. But anonymous sources within the resort have whispered about an atmosphere of unusual cooperation between Joe's local fixers and certain officials. There are unconfirmed allegations of lavish spending in the days following the incident, not on mourning, but on consultation fees. In a place like Zanzibar, where a few $1,000s can change a person's entire life, the abuse of power is a very real, very dark possibility. Public reactions have been scathing, with many comparing this case to the Shanquella Robinson tragedy in Mexico. People are tired of seeing young, successful black women go abroad and never come home, only for the men they were with to walk away with a shrug and a no comment. The quotes coming from the internet are brutal. One viral comment with thousands of likes read, "Joe thinks he's playing 4D chess with the Zanzibar police, but he forgot the US government has the cheat codes." Another source claimed that the panic Joe is feeling isn't about grief. It's about the fact that his liquid fund isn't the only thing that's currently underperforming. His credibility is at an absolute zero. The family's reaction has been a masterclass in controlled fury. Harry Robinson, Ashlee's father, has been vocal about the inconsistencies. He pointed out that there are cameras everywhere at a luxury resort like the Ziri. Those cameras would match the timeline, but where is the footage? Why has it not been released to the family? The suspicion is that someone with deep pockets might have ensured that those digital witnesses remained silent. This is the kind of corruption that people usually only see in movies, but for Ashlee's family, it is a reality they are fighting every single day. They are demanding transparency, and they are not going away. As we look at the fake investigative findings being circulated by some of Joe's defenders, it gets even more ridiculous. Some have tried to claim Ashlee was struggling with her mental health, but her last posts show a woman who was literally spelling out HBD Ashlee in rose petals and feeding giraffes. She captioned her last photo saying she was exactly where she needed to be. That doesn't sound like someone in a dark place. It sounds like someone who was targeted. The contrast between her joy and the grim reality of how she was found is the biggest red flag in this entire saga. The panic in Joe's camp is also reportedly tied to his crumbling business empire. You have to look at the timing. Asymmetric was looking to raise $1 billion, but the crypto market has been a bloodbath for many. When your professional life is a disaster and your personal life becomes a homicide investigation, the abuse of power becomes a survival mechanism. He needs this to be ruled a suicide to save whatever is left of his reputation and his freedom. But the problem with buying a result in a foreign country is that it doesn't hold up once the evidence crosses the border. The fallout from her return is already starting to manifest in Joe's social circle. We are hearing that some of his high-profile investors are distancing themselves until the air clears. But the air isn't clearing, it's getting thicker with suspicion. Public reactions from the influencer community have been a mix of fear and outrage. They see Ashlee, a 31-year-old woman at the top of her game, and they realize that could be any of them. The lavish spending Joe is known for is now being mocked online as the price of a cover-up. The family's push for a second autopsy is the ultimate checkmate. They know that American pathologists will look for things the Zanzibar police might have been encouraged to overlook. We are talking about under-the-skin bruising, toxicology for rare sedatives, and DNA evidence that doesn't just disappear with a quick wipe-down of a hotel room. If Joe was 10 minutes away in another villa, how did he know she was at risk? If he was so worried, why didn't he go to her? The questions are mounting, and Joe's reported nonchalant attitude in the early days has officially been replaced by a man who looks like he's waiting for the floor to drop out from under him. The suspense is building toward the moment those US autopsy results are released. That will be the bombshell that either validates Joe's story or sends him directly into the arms of the FBI. The family's resolve has galvanized the public, and the investigative findings being crowdsourced by internet sleuths are uncovering digital breadcrumbs that Joe probably thought were long gone. Every deleted comment, every scrubbed photo, and every leaked text is being analyzed. Joe McCann is currently a man trapped by his own wealth. He can afford the best lawyers, but he can't buy the silence of an entire grieving nation. The corruption that may have protected him in Zanzibar is useless against the mounting pressure from the US State Department and a family that refuses to be silenced. As we move into the final stages of this legal fallout, the consequences are looking more and more permanent. The full panic mode isn't just a headline. It's the reality of a man who realized too late that you can't crypto hedge your way out of a possible homicide charge. The anticipation for the next move is palpable. Every time Joe's name is mentioned, the search interest spikes. People are waiting for the "I gotcha" moment. And with Ashlee back home, the power has officially shifted from the hands of the wealthy elite to the hands of those seeking justice. The scandal isn't just about what happened in that room. It's about everything that happened after. It's about the 11-hour silence, the separate villas, and the frantic attempts to control the narrative. But you can't control a fire once it's been fueled by the truth. The fallout from her return is already starting to manifest in Joe's social circle. We are hearing that some of his high-profile investors are distancing themselves until the air clears. But the air isn't clearing, it's getting thicker with suspicion. Public reactions from the influencer have been a mix of fear and outrage. They see Ashlee, a 31-year-old woman at the top of her game, and they realize that could be any of them. The lavish spending Joe is known for is now being mocked online as the price of a cover-up. The family's push for a second autopsy is the ultimate checkmate. They know that American pathologists will look for things the Zanzibar police might have been encouraged to overlook. We are talking about under-the-skin bruising, toxicology for rare sedatives, and DNA evidence that doesn't just disappear with a quick wipe-down of a hotel room. If Joe was 10 minutes away in another villa, how did he know she was at risk? If he was so worried, why didn't he go to her? The questions are mounting, and Joe's reported nonchalant attitude in the early days has officially been replaced by a man who looks like he's waiting for the floor to drop out from under him. The suspense is building toward the moment those US autopsy results are released. That will be the bombshell that either validates Joe's story or sends him directly into the arms of the FBI. The family's resolve has galvanized the public, and the investigative findings being crowdsourced by internet sleuths are uncovering digital breadcrumbs that Joe probably thought were long gone. Every deleted comment, every scrubbed photo, and every leaked text is being analyzed. Joe McCann is currently a man trapped by his own wealth. He can afford the best lawyers, but he can't buy the silence of an entire grieving nation. The corruption that may have protected him in Zanzibar is useless against the mounting pressure from the US State Department and a family that refuses to be silenced. As we move into the final stages of this legal fallout, the consequences are looking more and more permanent. The full panic mode isn't just a headline. It's the reality of a man who realized too late that you can't crypto hedge your way out of a possible homicide charge. The anticipation for the next move is palpable. Every time Joe's name is mentioned, the search interest spikes. People are waiting for the "I gotcha" moment. And with Ashlee back home, the power has officially shifted from the hands of the wealthy elite to the hands of those seeking justice. The scandal isn't just about what happened in that room. It's about everything that happened after. It's about the 11-hour silence, the separate villas, and the frantic attempts to control the narrative. But you can't control a fire once it's been fueled by the truth. The fallout from her return is already starting to manifest in Joe's social circle. We are hearing that some of his high-profile investors are distancing themselves until the air clears. But the air isn't clearing. It's getting thicker with suspicion. Public reactions from the influencer community have been a mix of fear and outrage. They see Ashlee, a 31-year-old woman at the top of her game, and they realize that could be any of them. The lavish spending Joe is known for is now being mocked online as the price of a cover-up. The consequence of this bombshell reveal is that the legal pressure is no longer just a local Zanzibar issue. We are talking about potential federal probes that could dismantle everything Joe McCann has worked for. If the US autopsy contradicts the suicide ruling, we are looking at a scenario where the Department of Justice could open a case for a crime committed against a US citizen abroad. The panic in Joe's camp is likely fueled by the realization that his asymmetric strategy, which usually relies on having more information than the other side, has completely failed him. The family now has the most important piece of information of all, her body. We have to talk about the hypothetical resignations and financial collapses that follow a scandal of this magnitude. If Joe McCann is indicted or even officially named a suspect by US authorities, the investors in his fund, the Mark Andreessens and the Chris Dixons of the world, will be forced to pull their capital to protect their own reputations. A billion-dollar fund can evaporate in 24 hours when the founder is being investigated for a homicide. The fallout wouldn't just be personal. It would be a financial earthquake in the crypto world. We are already seeing probes into his past business dealings being suggested by internet sleuths who think his financial stress might have been the real catalyst for that fateful blowout fight at the Zeri. The quotes coming from fake sources and anonymous insiders are painting a picture of a man who is ready to hightail it to a country without an extradition treaty the second he gets his passport back. One leaked message supposedly from a former associate said, "Joe isn't worried about the truth, he's worried about the optics. He's used to deleting bad trades, but you can't delete a federal investigation." The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. People are asking, if he's so innocent, why isn't he on the first flight back to support the family? Why is he reportedly hunkered down, speaking only through lawyers? The public backlash is becoming a digital siege on his lifestyle and his legacy. The family's reaction to the return of Ashlee's body was a moment of profound, heavy silence followed by a roar for justice. When Harry Robinson mentioned that there are cameras everywhere at that resort, he wasn't just making an observation, he was issuing a challenge. He's basically saying, "We know you have the footage, and we know why you're hiding it." The suspense of waiting for that footage to be leaked or subpoenaed is what's keeping the world hooked. Every day that Joe remains in Zanzibar while Ashlee is in a morgue in the States is another day that his innocence loses its shine. Let's look at the possible legal actions. We are talking about civil suits that could strip Joe of every penny before a criminal trial even begins. The family could file for wrongful death in a US court, and if they do, Joe's assets could be frozen. Imagine a man who lives for luxury suddenly being unable to pay for his own defense because his accounts are locked down by a judge who wants answers. This is the full panic mode that comes when the system you thought you owned starts to turn its gears against you. The anticipation for the first legal filing is at an all-time high. The iron is that Joe McCann spent his career talking about decentralization and escaping the traditional system. But now, that same traditional system, the US State Department, the FBI, and the Delaware court system is exactly what is going to hunt him down. The public reaction has moved past wait and see. People are actively campaigning for the Zeri Hotel to be boycotted until they release the CCTV. They are calling for the Tanzanian government to explain why a passport is enough security for a man accused of such a high-profile misunderstanding. The fallout is global, and it is relentless. The bombshell of her return has also brought out the anonymous sources who claim to have seen Joe's behavior in the days leading up to the trip. There are whispers that the engagement wasn't a surprise to Ashlee, but a requirement for the trip's PR. If that's true, the entire happy couple narrative was a fraud from the start. This is the kind of detail that a US investigator will sink their teeth into. They will look at the text messages, the iCloud backups, and the search histories. If Joe was Googling extradition laws in Tanzania before the trip even started, it's game over. That is the level of investigative findings we are waiting for. As we conclude this breakdown of the fallout, the consequences are looking like a total life reset for everyone involved. Ashlee's family will never be the same, but they are focused on one thing: making sure that her name isn't just a hashtag, but a catalyst for change. They want to make sure no other family has to go through an 11-hour silence while their daughter is in a foreign hospital. The legal actions, the financial crises, and the public shaming are all just parts of a much larger puzzle that is finally being put together. The anticipation for the next 24 hours is insane. With Ashlee back on US soil, the Zanzibar shield has been lowered. Joe McCann is standing out in the open, and the world is watching his every move. Will he try to stay in Tanzania forever? Will he make a run for it? Or will he finally face the music and explain why his happiest moment turned into a literal crime scene? The full panic mode is justified because, in the end, the truth doesn't care about your net worth. The final fallout will likely involve a series of high-profile resignations from Joe's board as they try to save the asymmetric brand from the McCann curse. We are already seeing the signs of a financial probe into the fund's liquid assets. If those assets were being used to fund a private investigation or hush money in Zanzibar, the charges will be federal and they will be final. The tension is at a boiling point, and the reveal of those US autopsy results will be the spark that sets the whole thing off. This isn't just a story about a celebrity death anymore. It's a story about the limit of power and the endurance of a family's love. The bombshell has been dropped, the family has reacted, and now we wait for the smoke to clear. And when it does, Joe McCann might find that he's the only one left standing in the ruins of a life built on asymmetric lies. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the US government is doing enough to bring Joe back, or is his money still talking louder than the law? Is that second autopsy going to be the final nail in the coffin for the suicide narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we are reading every single one of them. We are keeping the pressure on until the truth is fully exposed. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We are following this story 24/7, and you don't want to miss the minute those autopsy results hit the public domain. Share this video everywhere. Put it on Twitter, put it on TikTok. Make sure everyone knows that Ashlee Janae is home and the fight for justice has only just begun. Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. We are going to keep digging, we are going to keep questioning, and we are never going to stop until the full story is told. Stay tuned, stay vigilant, and most importantly, stay loud. Peace. This is the moment of truth, and the world is watching with bated breath. Ashlee Janae is finally home, and the Zanzibar shield that protected the elite has officially been lowered. Joe McCann might be sitting in a luxury villa right now, but he is standing out in the open, and the pressure is at a boiling point. The question isn't just about what happened in that room. It's about whether or not a billionaire can truly buy his way out of a federal investigation. Now, I want to hear from you because your voice is what keeps this story alive. Do you think the US government is doing enough to bring Joe back, or is his money still talking louder than the law? Is that second autopsy going to be the final nail in the coffin for the suicide narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we are reading every single one. We are keeping the pressure on until the truth is fully exposed. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We are following this story 24/7, and you don't want to miss the minute those autopsy results hit the public domain. Share this video everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. Make sure everyone knows that Ashlee Janae is home and the fight for justice has only just begun. Stay tuned, stay vigilant, and most importantly, stay loud. Peace.